Hi, Dr. Tanya here with Tuesday's tips on keeping your family healthy and safe. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, and please tell your friends. Today we are going to be talking about how to vacation safely during the pandemic. I've been getting so many calls from families. They want to get away, they want a vacation, but they also don't want to expose themselves to catching COVID-19. So today we're going to talk about how to fly safe, drive safe, other modes of transportation, where you should stay, hotels, Airbnbs, camping. That sounds like a safe option. If it's better to be outdoors, indoors, restaurants, theme parks, bathrooms, and should you get tested when you return. Okay, so again, this is Dr. Tanya here with Tuesday's tips to keep your family healthy and safe. So let's start with vacationing during the pandemic. How to keep your family safe and not catch COVID-19. So depending on where you want to go, what is the best way to get there? So if it's a drivable distance, you're probably safer in your own car than taking public transportation, such as a train or an airplane. That said, if it's a far distance where you're going to be making a lot of stops and exposing yourself to other people, unless you can rent an RV, it may be best to consider a nonstop plane flight. So let's say you are driving. If you're driving, you want to make sure that you only have your immediate family in the car or people that you feel are safe and do not have COVID-19. You want to make sure that you can take as few stops as possible. So plan ahead and figure out how many bathroom breaks and gas breaks you're going to need, and try to take all the snacks and food and drinks that you can take with you to minimize other stops. When you do stop for gas, have a paper towel or a glove with you to touch the pump and the little buttons on the credit card machine. Basically, you want a surface, you want something in between your hand touching any commonly touched surfaces. So I like to have a stash of disposable gloves and paper towels in my car. I take one out, put it on, pump gas, touch the credit card machine, take off the glove and throw it away there and get back in my car clean. And then of course, sanitize your hands again before you touch your steering wheel and keep driving. Same with stopping at public restrooms, which have a little bit of a gross factor all the time, but especially now during COVID-19. So again, you're going to use something else to open doors, to touch knobs. You're going to flush with your foot. You're going to use seat covers. If you have young kids, maybe buy some of those disposable large ones that kind of stick and cover the entire toilet seat so you can sort of lift them up and put them on it. Tell your kids, don't touch anything, Mommy will do everything for you. And then wash your hands with soap and water. Bring your own soap with you because a lot of dispensers are often out. And paper towels to make sure that you wash your hands properly, get back to your car, and then again sanitize. And if you're going to be stopping for food or drink, same rules apply. As much as you can bring in your car is best. And for kids that need to go all of a sudden, if you're somebody who doesn't mind pit stops on the side of the road, that also could be maybe a safer option, depending on if it's number 1 or number 2, that is. So airplane travel. When you go to the airport now, they have gotten a lot better at touchless everything. So when you go to TSA, you can just pull down your mask, show them your card. You don't have to hand them anything. They don't need to touch anything. Make sure that you try to stay a healthy distance from everybody at the airport. So that's at least 6 feet away. Let's not forget that a close contact, to be in close contact with somebody, means you're within 6 feet for 10 to 15 minutes or more. So you want to avoid that because that's approximately the time it usually takes to transmit COVID-19. So stand far apart if you're waiting in line at the bathroom, if you're waiting for a seat, if you're waiting to board. And then when you get on the airplane, sit as close to the front as you can of the airplane, and also try to board last. That way you have less contact with people walking by you. Many experts say that it's safer to sit near the window so you also don't have that traffic going by of people breathing on you. But let's not forget, everyone's going to be wearing a mask, and eye protection is important as well. So either goggles, glasses, or a face mask when you're sitting on an airplane. Now, I'm claustrophobic. I have to sit in an aisle seat. So I would much rather sit in an aisle seat, wipe everything down, disinfect everything before I sit down, have myself covered, and let people walk by me than squishing into a window seat, because just thinking about that gives me palpitations. Bring food and drink with you, and if you can avoid using the restroom, avoid taking off your mask to eat or drink when you're on a plane flight, depending how long it is, that is probably better. When you get off, take off your mask, face shield, gloves, change everything. When you get to your destination, maybe even take a shower too, but most importantly, wash your hands. Anytime you take your mask off, that increases the risk. But if you need to eat and drink, then that's something you have to do, and especially when you're flying with kids, they're gonna need lots of those breaks. Bring all of your own toys for them to keep them busy so they don't need to walk around the airplane looking at other people and touching other people's toys. So now you're at your destination. What are you gonna do? Do you wanna stay in a hotel? Do you wanna stay in an Airbnb? Do you wanna camp? Okay, anything you can do outside. If you can have an outdoor vacation, that is safer than inside. So things like hiking, things like being outside at the lake, at a beach, that is all gonna be safer than a vacation that's based on indoor activities. So camping clearly would be ideal in the middle of nowhere with no one else around, but not everybody wants to go camping. So in that case, I would probably look into an Airbnb or a rental first before a hotel where there's gonna be a lot of people in a smaller enclosed space. But a lot of hotels are doing a great job disinfecting, keeping people healthy distances apart. You can also ask them not to service your room while you're there, that way you don't have other people coming in. And again, when you get to that Airbnb, vacation rental, or hotel, disinfect, wipe everything down, open the windows, get some ventilation, and then if it's only your family in there, it should be okay. Just make sure that every time you enter and leave that you wash your hands again with soap and water, again to protect yourself and your family. So let's talk about more vacation activities. People are asking about theme parks. You know, it's kind of risky to go to a theme park because there's a high volume of people touching everything. That said, being outdoors is better than indoors. There's really a low risk of transmission outdoors. So standing in line outdoors, 6 feet apart from people, should be okay. You just have to make sure that every time your kids touch an arm rail, you sit down and you touch a seat, that you don't touch your face and that you sanitize your hands afterwards. And you know what, truthfully, that's what my family always did when we went to amusement parks. I would be the crazy mom saying, don't touch that, sanitize your hands. Do you know how many people sat in the seat before you and touched the handrail and touched that little gun that you shot the little, fake things on the screen to get points? So as long as you're super careful, it will make it safer. But if you're in a closed indoor space with a lot of people, especially people that aren't wearing masks and that are breathing and potentially coughing and sneezing, that's really high risk. And I am very worried that we are gonna see a lot of outbreaks of COVID-19 from theme parks. It's also impossible to contact trace after being at a theme park. So when somebody does get diagnosed with COVID-19, you go from their positive test or from their first symptom and you look back 48 hours and say, tell me everybody that you've been in contact with because we need to let them know. Well, if you've been at a theme park, you can't really let everybody know. It's basically gonna be on the news. Guess what? Anyone that was at this theme park is potentially at risk. Go get a test. And that's where we end up with like a mess on our hands. So other things, movie theaters, again, not a great idea. Restaurants, make sure they're uncrowded. Make sure that you sit outside. Outdoor dining is okay as long as the servers are wearing masks. You sanitize everything, and you keep your mask on other than when you eat and drink. I would not dine indoors at a restaurant. That said, some people do. They just stay a safe distance from other tables and they wipe everything down. But I've seen cases of transmission from indoor restaurants. Now, usually it's people sitting in close proximity. So again, if there's nobody else near you, that could be a safer option. But with my kids, I just prefer getting takeout right now and picking up food and bringing it back to wherever it is that we're staying or our house. I feel like it's less risk, less worry, and then the kids can eat and run around and then we can sit and have a relaxing meal together. So what other questions do you have about traveling with your families? I'm looking here at the list of questions that were sent in. Testing. So we do sometimes recommend COVID-19 testing if you're traveling with another family, let's say in an RV. And I have many families that have said, we want to get from point A to point B. We don't want to fly. We don't want to risk driving and having to stop every few hours. We're going to rent an RV and have everything we need with us. Well, that could be a really fun thing to do. And I think does decrease a lot of the risks of catching the illness when you're traveling. All you have to do is stop periodically and get gas. You can wear a glove. You have all your food, drinks, restroom, everything with you. So if you are taking an RV with another family, you might want to make sure that they also quarantine before your trip for 2 weeks. Or you could test everybody before your trip, make sure they're COVID-19 negative, and then just quarantine for 2 days before your test, and then anytime after the test until you go on your trip together. And again, when you get back from a trip, if you're going back to camp, going to see grandparents, or if you're going to be around anyone that could potentially be high risk and you don't want to quarantine for 2 days after traveling, you could also get a PCR COVID-19 test. And the ideal time to do that would be a few days after you get back. But if you want to know for sure, I would say wait 7 days till you get back and stay home for those 7 days. And if you have a negative test on day 7, I think you can say with fair certainty that you did not catch COVID-19 on that flight or trip home. And now you can send your kids back to school or other activities or to be around others. So that is my advice for a healthy, safe, and fun vacation during COVID-19. Any other questions, please leave them here and I will hop on and answer them soon. And let me know other topics that you'd like me to cover. I come on every Tuesday for Dr. Tanya's Tuesdays Tips to keep your family healthy and safe.